welcome to speak as women. We have a few oppositions. Hi.
I had a feeling that you were going to be sitting up there.
Yeah, and that's why they've
and I
done
was
it.
like, damn it. And then when they moved it over, I was like, I did talk to the organiser and just said, hey, you know, we're here to, obviously you guys have the permission, there's a technically unauthorised, and that we're here to keep it pretty safe and keep everything reasonable.
Yeah.
We're trying to avoid making any arrests today. I did talk to them about their speakers, and that if I believe that it's drowning out what we have to say, then I'll be speaking to the organiser to shut it down. But potentially we could remove those speakers with the GPs kind of thing.
Okay, absolutely.
I haven't seen it done before, but technically we can. We'll see how we go.
Because we were wondering, because there's no, I've tried to find a definition for peaceful assembly. There isn't one, so I figured that it's up to the police to
Did you look under the peaceful assembly stuff?
Yeah, I couldn't find a definition.
Maybe even individual move-on directives would serve the same purpose.
We have very strict limitations with move-on directions. If someone's sitting in the middle of an intersection and disrupting traffic, then we can. If someone's sitting in a bank or something like that, then we can. But sort of being a public place, it's a bit... So what time are you planning on setting up?
Oh, now. What do you think, Leah? Will we try over there?
I reckon just go over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got
So
some... This is where we normally go, but we can't go there.
Yeah. I'll speak to the organiser.
Oh dear.
And we'll see where we go from there.
We anticipated they'd do that.
We knew they'd come.
Yeah, well, I actually think they lodged an application.
They had, but I think it wasn't in the right time frame, so they didn't get approval.
Which means next time if they get it in within 5 days.
Yeah.
Nice to be on your video. Hi.
But then there'll be
Wow,
police
you
here.
sound like a man.
What's that, sorry?
But then there'll be police here.
Yeah. It's just such
Just
a
give me a
waste of
minute.
police resources,
Mm.
isn't it? It's really frustrating.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, we'll set up over
well,
there.
no, just give me a second.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think it'll go well, but you never know.
We'll come in and protect you if you
So is that the ringleader with the... Yeah, there he
Be
is.
careful, that's a non-binary if ever I've seen one.
He is massive. Look at that, guys.
They won't move.
No, they won't move. That's... ugh.
Yeah.
Oh.
They've seen all of this on TV. The creepy part would be if some of them are actual law students and trying to enforce.
So these people have turned up to oppose us and they need stewards.
Yeah, he's gonna be.
Yeah, because we did apply first.
Yeah, and you actually are the only ones with a permit.
And so we applied first to be under
But they weren't approved apparently.
the Queen Victoria statue. And
Notice
these
of intention, but they didn't get it.
these
in
greasies
time.
have turned up and stolen our spot, which is very apt for them because they don't care about invading where they're not welcome. So the police have just gone over to ask them to move because that's our spot. We'll see what they say.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, nah.
No, just because I don't think there was any specifics about where.
They know that's where we
Yeah.
set up.
Is there an advantage? Does it matter to us?
No, not really. I mean,
So I think a good spot.
Over there.
Right in the kind of corner there. I did speak to the organiser as well about the
Hi,
megaphone
Larissa.
and stuff like that. So if I feel that it's drowning you guys out too much, then I'll have a conversation with the organiser.
Thank you.
And we'll go from there.
What's the bet they're going to move the moment set up over there?
Oh well.
No, because we'll have police.
Thank you. So they won't be able to encroach on our space because they're going to be separated with police. Sorry guys, I don't know how to make it landscape mode. My phone is not letting me. Look at this day.
Right across the park. Well, whatever you think.
That part's my fault.
Oh, we won't be blocked.
I didn't want to introduce myself to the police, but then I came to the
Can't put it back in. Maybe just put on 97. So it's at least notice how we go. We can okay this person. Yeah. Now I've only ever set this up. Oh, very relaxed. Totally. Alan. That's what it's called. Abby. That's Abby. It's close. Such a red food. I don't think I'm going to say like a rally drama. So then, not too fast, just like a little bit of like 110 I'm doing 150. Makes me feel better. I don't know how I actually think maybe my address must be wrong or something because I haven't received one for so long. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I've lost my address. I'm me.
What getting around?
80 for the tunnel. Oh gosh, yeah. I don't care because there's been rescue groups. That was when the truck rolls with the chickens, and rescue groups come out to grab the chickens. They won't let them. They'd rather kill them than let them. Honey, so he took the hit actually, and I thought it was me. That was me. What I meant was, yes, what was the space before when you didn't get done? Is that what you said? Oh, I've been through. But that particular spot where you got done, you said you'd sped through before, so it mustn't be a stationary. It mustn't be a permanent camera. I usually put I usually put my it's a lesbian. Undoubtedly, sometimes I find it around. Are we putting space out? That's what I really think about going up. And then when Lou sits up there for the flight. If that's close. Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, maybe we move back over to the camera. Can you hear me? I sure can.
Hi, Larissa. Yeah, good. You?
I just want you to answer.
I have got my banner, but I don't know if I'll be able to get it up.
Right. Hey, Larissa.
Hey Kaylee, sorry. How you going?
She's a
Oh, it's just case. Yeah, it's not about input anyway. No, absolutely. They bought marshals.
I've never seen one. I'm so out of touch. I saw the pink vest on this side. Yeah. I think it was big speech to
Oh, I thought you said away. I thought, what'd you say? Sorry, I was trying to listen to you.
And I'm also trying to eavesdrop on this conversation over here. I'm not sure.
At least start with this homosexual thing. I don't think people realise that we're... She's like, not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, especially with like yeah, well, that, it's not impossible. Basically, the only thing is behave. Right.
But then said he was a woman and went yeah. If you think that they actually went up, because they have to say it. I don't believe it. I completely agree. Because they have to for the votes.
Oh yeah, you can.
Even turning out last week or last month.
For a minute, like,
need to adjust it for the others.
Yeah.
Should we start?
Yeah, come on, yeah, let's start. Just check the volume and stuff.
Ready? Hi everybody. Welcome to our Speakers Corner, where we are here to talk about women's rights and such like. The rate of women killed by an intimate partner in Australia increased by almost 30% last year compared to the previous year. This year, 2024, a woman is being violently killed in Australia every 4 days. It used to be one a week, it's now one every 4 days. At the end of this month, men will be able to change their sex marker on their birth certificate to be legally recognised as women. Let me tell you, the only kind of woman that needs to be legally recognised as one ain't one. That means that there is absolutely nowhere for women to hide from abusers in Australia because men have free reign in our single-sex spaces. This, what we're witnessing here, ladies and gentlemen, is a tale as old as time. Men have always tried to stop women speaking in public. When women were publicly speaking, advocating for the right for women to vote, they were opposed by men who used various ways to try and shut them up. They used violence and intimidation. Men sometimes resorted to physical violence or threats to intimidate women speakers and disrupt their events. This ranged from heckling, shouting and aggressive violent action aimed at silencing them. Changed. They also used legal barriers. Laws and regulations were sometimes used to restrict or prohibit women from speaking in public. Permits for gatherings would be denied, or speakers could be arrested on dubious charges related to public disturbance or disorderly conduct. They use social and cultural pressure. Women speakers face social ostracism and stigma. They are often portrayed negatively in the media by public figures, which aim to undermine the credibility and discourage them from speaking any further. They would try to sabotage their events. Opponents of women speaking would disrupt rallies and meetings by infiltrating them, causing disturbance, spreading false information to confuse or mislead other attendees. You sound like a man. They would attempt to discredit women who were speaking. Critics sought to discredit women speakers by questioning their motives, intelligence or character. They use stereotypes and derogatory language to diminish their effectiveness as public advocates. They would deny women platforms. Organisers of public speaking events sometimes yielded to pressure from opponents and denied the women an opportunity to speak. This was particularly effective in venues controlled by entities sympathetic to anti-suffrage sentiments. Despite these challenges, women persisted in their efforts to secure the right to vote through continued advocacy and activism. Through grit and pure determination and with courage and bravery, the women who fought before me won. They won me the right to take part fully in society as a woman. Now we see those rights being stripped away by men in dresses. We are the women who are once again standing up and speaking out and saying no! We want our fucking rights back and we will not stop until we get them.
Who's next? No, you go.
Good luck! Love you!
Thanks, sweetheart. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, good women and our supporters for coming. Thank you to the police for their presence too. As Leah mentioned, nearly a year ago to the date, the Queensland Minister for Men, Shannon Fentiman, uttered the following diabolical lies in Parliament here in Queensland. She said, "I want to be clear that I define a woman as someone who identifies as a woman, and that the Queensland government defines a woman as someone who identifies as a woman. Despite repeated claims to the contrary, there is no evidence from any jurisdiction to suggest that women will have fewer rights or be less safe as a result of these changes. These domestic terrorists make me think otherwise. These domestic terrorists over here, frauds, absolute frauds." Shannon Fentiman's actual title is the Minister for Women, but we know she doesn't care about our kind of women, you know, the ones who don't identify as women, but simply are women by birthright. Through the public consultation process at the time, countless women, many of us here, provided evidence of the many ways in which self-ID harms women and was already causing harm to women in jurisdictions where self-ID had already been implemented, such as in California, where there were already reported cases of females being sexually assaulted and raped by males in women's prisons, therefore having fewer rights and being considerably less safe. They do our work for us, don't they? They do our work for us. By the way, at the time that this was happening, the Courier Mail conducted a survey that showed 90% of Queenslanders did not support self-ID. But Queensland Labor doesn't care. And so on the 24th of June, in just over a week, Fentiman's self-ID law will come into force here. For those who don't know, some of the most significant changes will be that a person will be able to alter their sex on legal documents to align with their gender identity. This means any man can falsify his birth certificate to say female. And parents will be able to choose how they identify on their child's birth certificate. That means that a father will be able to lie on his child's birth certificate and say he is the mother. This is so far beyond contemptible. Only women give birth and only women can be mothers.
Yes.
Mother is so much more than just an identity or a parenting role. It is a biological, immutable fact. Every child on the planet came from a mother.
Yes. Woo.
The breaking down of the mother-baby dyad is one of the most disturbing realities of this Orwellian legislation and ideology. This government is encouraging and celebrating fetishistic, delusional men centering themselves and, for instance, forcing a hungry newborn baby who is designed to instinctually seek out their mother's life-sustaining milk to instead latch onto the nipples of their male chest and ingest a drug-induced discharge full of synthetic hormones that in no way resembles or even comes close to replicating mother's milk. All to validate this man and his delusion, prioritising that man's selfishness and his experience above the needs of a helpless baby. And what about the other rights of that newborn baby? To know the truth, perhaps, to know who their mother is. A birth certificate is much more than just a prop to validate a delusion. It is beyond insane that it's gone this far. It's going to take a hell of a lot of work to roll back the damage that's been done. There is so much work to be done, and this is so much more than a wedge issue in politics. What we need is women and men from all political persuasions, but more importantly, from all political parties, to come together and work out how to get us out of this mess. As mothers, grandmothers, sisters, daughters, all things men can never ever be, women will not stay silent, and we will never be silenced. We will continue to speak the truth. So today I salute all of the truly stunning and brave women like Lucy Zellick, Deborah Lovely-Ackerson, Kath Deves, Sal Grover, Louise Elliott, Gillian Spencer, Sheila Jeffries, Claire Chandler, Holly Lawford Smith, Rachel Wong, Kat Kariner, Stasia Free, Mel Swolski, Jasmine Sussex, Jess Williams, Anna McCormack, Angie Jones, Kiralee Smith, Susan Hawthorne, Pearl Moon, Diana Kenny, Ro Edge, Anna Kerr, Janet Fraser, Mel Jeffries, Leah, Kaylee, Cheryl, Kathy, Millie, Nina, Caro, Aoife, Nahan, Christine, Jessie, Margaret, Fifi. Some of these names you may recognise, otherwise maybe not. There's too many to mention. Women have always had to fight for our rights, and as long as there are men like that over there, domestic terrorists, intent on taking our rights away, we will keep on fighting. There are so many women across Australia and right around the world standing up for our daughters and our granddaughters, speaking the truth and taking back our rights. And we will win, because truth always wins.
Hold on, Steve. Just have a little look.
Just want to let everyone know in the park know that they have followed us here to intimidate us like they always do.
Yep.
So they're afraid of the truth. If they weren't afraid of the truth, they'd be able to justify what they're doing to society. They can't. Nothing justifies what they're doing. We will not comply. Anyway, and I just want to thank Narissa. You're one of the fantastic Queensland women. Thank you.
All right. And then she goes, her. Not in the derogatory sense, the word. And then it goes,
Can you hear me? Is that loud enough? Yeah.
hey, her.
Is Australia listening to the warnings the world is sending about safeguarding our children? There is increasing international commentary based on robust research into gender treatment for minors that Australia, along with some others like Canada and parts of the USA, is captured to an extreme extent by gender identity ideology and its doctrinaire requirements, which rest on beliefs and not on quality research and a secure evidence base. Captured by this ideology, it is argued by many our most mainstream media, including the ABC, state, local and federal government institutions, including our Human Rights Commission, education and health systems, legal systems, prisons, and many non-government agencies which are funded by government and which play influential roles in promoting this ideology and ensuring compliance with its beliefs. An example is ACON, which has styled itself as an expert organisation presenting best practice with a system of rewards and downgrading of those who don't share their beliefs, touted as progressive and kind. Not so kind for those who don't believe or dare to speak the truth from evidence. One among many areas of concern is the medicalisation of our young people, people who are judged to be in the wrong bodies because of what are normal preferences for types of play, interests and clothing that are not stereotypical for their sex. As the research has long shown, most of these kids eventually realise they're gay or lesbian and grow out of confusion or discomfort. Australian gender clinics have promoted and performed the gender-affirming model of care, which has maintained adherence to standards of care set out by the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, based on OzPath and WPath guidelines. In spite of the discrediting of these standards from leaked files from WPath and the international developments of Scandinavian countries, the UK, Germany, and 25 American states, recommending or enacting the cessation or caution in this field of seriously impactful medicalisation of minors. It's now shown to be based on very weak evidence.
Down the street. Why was it? Because she's a man in a dress? I mean, that's a bad reason. Because she's a man? It's made her get bashed? No, it was because they called her a tranny, faggot, slut. They beat her up to being trans.
The most robust, comprehensive, systematic review of evidence for gender-affirming practices has been the release of the final report of the Cass Review, led by the distinguished British paediatrician Dr. Hilary Cass, a former president of the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. Her 388-page report outlines the world's most comprehensive study of how best to respond to the unprecedented surge in gender-distressed teenagers, mostly girls, many of whom have autism, mental health disorders, awkward same-sex attraction, and family trauma. The Cass report found that there was remarkably weak evidence to support puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for gender-distressed minors. In England, blockers have been restricted to ethically endorsed, high-quality clinical trials, and Dr. Cass urged extreme caution before any use of cross-sex hormones with minors. Is Australia listening? The Cass Review commissioned evaluation of guidelines in the US, the UK, Finland, Canada, South Africa, Australia, Sweden, New Zealand, Spain, Italy and Denmark and Norway. The treatment guidelines from the Royal Children's Hospital Melbourne scored only 19 out of 100 for the rigour of its development. 19 out of 100 for the hospital in Australia that sets the standards. That compares with 71 out of 100 for the Swedish document. This should worry Australia. Australian gender clinics, including the RCH Melbourne, Perth's Children's Hospital and the Queensland Children's Hospital, took part in this Cass Review survey of clinics. The researchers pointed out that Australian clinics are using an experimental fast-track process to puberty blockers for children as young as 8 to 9 years of age. Is Australia worried? Cass shows that it is false to claim that medicalising child gender distress reduces suicide risk. It does not. She advocates for careful, ethical, multidisciplinary approach in which gender distress is just part of what is going on for children, with many other psychosocial and medical risk factors impacting this. She says exploration of these issues is essential to provide diagnosis, clinical support and appropriate intervention. The intent of psychological intervention is not to change the person's perception of who they are, but to work with them, to explore their concerns and experiences and help alleviate their distress, regardless of whether they pursue a medical pathway or not. It is harmful, Cass has said, to equate this approach to conversion therapy, as it may prevent young people from getting the emotional support they need and deserve. It also has left some clinical staff fearful of accepting referrals of these children and young people. Clinical staff must not feel that discharging their clinical and professional responsibility may expose them to the risk of legal challenge, and strong safeguards must be built into any potential legislation on conversion practices to guard against this. They are Cass's words. New South Wales is currently considering such conversion practice legislation. They are not considering the Cass report and her warnings about safeguards. GenderQuestion.org recently listed 28 announcements or calls for an inquiry, international and Australian reviews and research, acting as warnings from December 18th to the publication of Dr. Cass's final report in April this year. The timeline listed 28, but there were many more, and more have been recorded by journalist Bernard Lane in Gender Clinic News. Warning signs that there is no consensus on the efficacy or safety of gender-affirming treatment and about the capacity for minors to give informed consent to procedures which do not change sex, have serious physical and potential cognitive side effects, and a number of unknown or only partially known effects for life. The WPATH files made clear that practitioners were well aware that children and teens were developmentally unable to consent to warnings. And warnings from yet more countries and states awakening to the ethical principle of do no harm. The question remains, Australia seems deaf to these warnings. Bernard Lane draws attention to further warnings. The French Senate passed a draft law restricting these hormones and transgender surgery for minors. South Carolina became the 25th American state to restrict or prohibit medicalised gender treatment for minors. Even in the Netherlands, the health minister agreed there are dilemmas associated with medicalising minors, and she's given effect to motions to undertake research into more cautious treatment approaches. There are more awakenings overseas, in Italy, Germany and Switzerland. And what is Australia's response to the Cass Review final report? Thanks to Women Speak Tasmania, Tasmanian's Liberal government is the first to recommend a national review of public gender services for minors. The Health Minister, Guy Barnett, has written to the Labor Party Health Minister, federally, Mark Butler, to ask him to consider a review. Even if this is passing the buck, it still says there's something to see here and something that we might do something about. In Western Australia, Liberal opposition leader Libby Matan has announced a policy to ban blockers, hormones and surgery for children under 16, to hold a review if elected to government. In New South Wales, the State Council of the Liberal Party passed a motion calling on state and federal government to ban medicalised gender treatment for minors due to the impossibility of informed consent. However, like Australia's gender clinic lobby, the Federal Health Minister, Mark Butler, has played down the relevance of the Cass report, citing differences in pathways for treatment. One clinician even suggested Australia already has multidisciplinary teams, as if this was the only issue. As Bernard Lane reports, the evidence base and treatments are the same in Australia as internationally. And puberty in Australia is not different from puberty in the UK. That sounds like relevance, actually, doesn't it? In Queensland, our Health Minister, Shannon Fentiman, has pointed to a current review of the Queensland Gender Clinic against the RCH guidelines, notwithstanding critics like us identifying those same guidelines as part of the problem. Since that original aim of the review was announced, the timeline has been extended, and it seems, possibly, that the Cass report may be looked at, irrelevant as it's said to be. So many professional bodies have been urging Australian governments to take heed of the evidence, look at what is increasingly occurring internationally, and to care for these children and their futures, and to allow for real, respectful debate in Australia, where practitioners and parents can speak and be heard without fear of repercussions. Minister Butler, please stop hiding behind old 2020 briefs in consultation with our former coalition minister. Take a serious, independent look at Cass, which is relevant to Australia as to all other countries taking it seriously. In conclusion, I quote from a psychiatrist, Andrew Amos, who referred to our own Queensland paediatric psychiatrist, Dr. Gillian Spencer, in a paper published in Australian Psychiatry this year. He said, "Locally, we have been troubled by the suspension of a senior child psychiatrist from a major Australian children's hospital," that's here in Queensland, after expressing concern the hospital's gender-affirming model was neither supported by evidence nor consistent with best practice. Based on public information, the psychiatrist appears to have been punished for accurate information about an area of active international concern. We call Queensland Minister Shannon Fentiman to end the suspension of Dr. Gillian Spencer and allow a climate of genuine professional inquiry and real progress in the care and support of our children who deserve no less.
No, you, Cara. Are you going to speak? Anyone else?
I think Sue can. Sue's going to speak first.
Hi, I haven't prepared anything. I want to start with an apology. 16 years ago, this was the kind of, well, an earlier version of the TOSH I was promulgating as a queer officer at QUT. I didn't see it turning into this shit. I was just like, oh, okay, so that's their thing, right? So their gender's in their mind, sex is down here. Like literally printed pamphlets saying that. I just thought it was their cute little thing to make themselves feel good. Didn't think now they'd be saying, oh no, sex isn't actually a biological reality. It's all gender. And I'm like, hang on, no, you said they were separate. That was the deal. Now they're apparently the same and apart depending on which one you talk to, when you talk to them, and really, let's be honest, why the fuck you're talking to them. I noted that our learned colleague seems to get very loud when sexual assault is brought up. I'm sure I'll be called transphobic soon enough. As a busy homosexual who's clearly a terrible person for having a sexual orientation, I don't wish to continue to be called a genital fetishist. Picking up on my learned colleague's devolution with psychiatry, it's not actually possible to have a fetish for genitals. It's about the only thing on a body you can't have a fetish for. Again, the inverse of the possibilities. Much like their neo-vagina. So that's my broad apology to women, gays, but to all of you really. I'm pretty camp. That used to be allowed. You know, we used to go, oh, look, he might be gay, but let him go. Let the kid go. It might not be. Now it's medical intervention instead. Now it's, oh, that boy is wearing pink. He likes pink. And somehow we're led to believe that a 7-year-old at a stretch just knows they need leuprolide acetate. They just, within their gendered soul, they just said, Mum, leuprolide acetate, please. Please, I need it. I'm not buying that. For the love of Jesus, Joseph and Mary, everyone else seems to be. Apart from you. Besides, their own rhetoric is what really drives me nuts. They'll say they're experiencing gender dysphoria. Little Timmy, who can't quite hold the fork yet, just knows he needs that drug because it's a pause button, this is the kicker, for him to work it out. Hang on, didn't you just say he had? Within a sentence, these people change their own rhetoric, and that's why it's often, well, it's not difficult to argue against them per se, it's just very confusing because there's no internal consistency. So, I'm extremely sorry, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it.
And all that other people started stuff that we gain on us within our potentially conversation and all that.
Just because I didn't know, I don't.
I don't think I can possibly follow that. That was amazing. I haven't got my gay certification quite yet. Yeah, cheers, thank you, appreciate that. It's just fascinating to see where we are right now in terms of just the impact that words have and how ideas create consequences. It's okay, I'm okay. It's all right, thanks. No, I didn't get misgendered, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, just words and the meanings, and this whole thing is insane. Like, the LGBT used to be same-sex attracted people and people who like to dress up. That used to be what that meant. Now, it's like lesbians, gays, bis, and this Trojan horse over here that has just ruined the entire goodwill that was earned over decades for the gay movement, trying to just exist in peace. Now, they're hijacking children's brains in schools, putting hormones into kids for no good reason, women's rights being obliterated, all in the name of what exactly? You guys are oppressed how? I missed that part. With all your corporate sponsorship, all the laws you've smuggled through, the hijacking of every bit of goodwill, it's really hard to see how you guys are still the oppressed ones. Yeah. I've got more, but that's enough. Thank you.
In summary,
Standing by. Anyone got any good jokes?
Yeah.
So you come here.
I'm looking at one.
Fancy meeting you here.
Definitely get one of the Harry Potter shirt, I say.
social constructs, right? And the fact that we as
You talk, she says. Right. Well, I don't really have much else to say, but we do have one more speaker, so we'll continue. But I thank everyone and our supporters for coming, because it's not easy to stand up here and speak these words. It should be. They're just truthful words. But everywhere that we go and we try to speak, we are followed and sometimes abused. There's been screaming in pregnant women's faces. There's been calling us fucking cunts. There's been calling us fucking TERFs. We've heard it all. I'm glad that the police are here to see this, because this is only going to get worse, unfortunately, before it gets better. Our friends on Turf Island, who I know some of them watch, we thank you for your support, and we hope that we can follow you out of this.
I just want to read this. It was a meme, really hit home. It's like a pledge. I will not abandon objective reality to pacify your emotions. I will not compromise my values to fawn over yours. I will not disregard critical thinking to defend your decisions. I will not erase my language to mimic yours. I will not offer my empathy to enable your manipulation. I will not remain silent to help you spread lies. I will not distort myself to help you find yourself. I think that's all the speakers. Anyone else?
Thank you to everybody who's come and supporting, and thank you for everyone who's walked past and asked us what we're doing and taken a flyer as well. There's been quite a lot of that. Just ask yourself, why do men want to stop children's puberty? Why do men want to come into women's spaces? You are the last kind of man we would ever welcome into our space. Someone who knows they're not welcome going into a woman's space. It's just... Thank you everyone for coming. Bye. He's been waffling on for nearly an hour. Anyway, bye.